What if I told you the entire point of Vinland Saga is that Vinland doesn't exist, and never will? The paradise Thorfinn desperately chases throughout the series is nothing but a lie, a beautiful, necessary lie. And today, I'll show you why that lie is more powerful than any truth could ever be. Across human history, we've always been drawn to paradises we can never reach. The American dream, Zion, heaven, utopia. Vinland is just another name for the same eternal human longing. But here's what nobody tells you. These paradises aren't meant to be reached. They're meant to be chased. And understanding this truth about Vinland Saga doesn't ruin the story. It reveals its actual genius. Think about it. How many times have you pursued something perfect, only to discover the journey itself was the real treasure? This isn't just some cheap motivational poster wisdom. It's deeply woven into our psychology as humans. The question isn't whether paradise exists. It's why we need to believe it does. Today we'll explore 3 critical aspects of Vinland. First, why it's fundamentally unattainable. Second, why characters need it anyway. And finally, why this bitter truth makes Vinland Saga not just a great anime, but a profound statement about human nature itself. By the end of this video, you'll never look at Thorfinn's journey the same way again, and you might start questioning the beautiful lies that keep you going every day. Let's dissect Thorfinn's dream of Vinland, a paradise without violence, greed, or suffering. A place where former enemies live as neighbors in peace. It sounds beautiful, doesn't it? Almost too beautiful. And that's exactly the point. When we examine what the story actually shows us, a striking pattern emerges. Every time the idea of Vinland appears, it's juxtaposed against brutal reality. Thorfinn first hears about it from his father Thors, a legendary warrior who tried to escape violence only to be murdered by it. The very introduction of Vinland comes hand in hand with the harshest dose of reality. Look at how Vinland is visually portrayed in Thorfinn's dreams, bathed in golden light, with endless wheat fields and peaceful communities. But these visions always appear when Thorfinn is at his lowest points, after battles, after killing, after witnessing the worst of humanity. The contrast couldn't be more deliberate. The series isn't showing us Vinland as a real possibility. It's showing us how desperately we cling to beautiful myths when reality becomes unbearable. The symbolism goes deeper. Notice how Vinland always appears on the horizon, visible but perpetually distant. It's literary technique as old as time. Paradise exists just beyond reach. The visual language is telling us something profound about the nature of paradise itself. And consider the brutal Viking Age setting. This wasn't chosen randomly. Creator Yukimura deliberately placed his story in one of history's most violent periods, a time when survival meant taking what you needed through force. The setting itself is an argument against Vinland's possibility. When everyone around you lives by the sword, how can you survive by the plow? Even more revealing is the historical truth about the real Vinland. When Norse explorers like Leif Erikson reached North America around 1000 CE, they didn't create a peaceful paradise. Archaeological evidence shows conflict between Vikings and indigenous peoples, the Skrælings, as they called them. The real historical Vinland was just another site of human violence and exploitation. The paradise was always a myth. This historical reality bleeds into the manga and anime. Yukimura isn't naive about history. He's using it to make a point. Human nature doesn't change just because you sail to new shores. The problems we try to escape always follow us because they're inside us. But here's where it gets fascinating. If Vinland is impossible, a beautiful lie that can never become reality, why does the entire story revolve around it? Why would our protagonist dedicate his life to a fantasy? And more importantly, why do we, the audience, find ourselves rooting for him to achieve something we know deep down is unattainable? That's where the true genius of Vinland Saga emerges, and it reveals something profound about our own psychology. Humans don't chase paradise because they expect to reach it. They chase it because without that pursuit, they'd have to face the unbearable truth of their existence. This psychological mechanism isn't unique to fiction. It's hardwired into our very being. Philosophers from Nietzsche to Camus recognize that humans need noble lies to function. We create meaning in a universe that offers none, and Vinland Saga illustrates this with devastating clarity through its characters. Take Thorfinn. After spending his childhood and adolescence consumed by revenge, he discovers a terrible truth. His quest was meaningless. His father's killer, Askeladd, never even saw him as a worthy opponent. Without the Vinland dream to grab onto, Thorfinn would have to face an unbearable reality. He's simply a killer who wasted his life on revenge. The Vinland dream isn't just his goal, it's his redemption narrative. It's the story he tells himself to stay sane. When Thorfinn is working as a slave on Ketil's farm, what keeps him from complete despair? The distant memory of Vinland. Without this beautiful lie to cling to, he would have nothing, just the blood on his hands and years of wasted life. The dream functions as a psychological life raft in a sea of regret. Then there's Askeladd, one of the most complex characters in the series. Remember how Askeladd died for Wales, a homeland that barely existed anymore? In his final moments, he didn't die for reality. He died for a beautiful lie about a place that was already lost to history. Yet that lie gave his death meaning. It transformed a brutal mercenary into a martyr. The power of that beautiful lie was literally worth dying for. And consider Canute's journey. He builds a real kingdom but loses his soul to do it. His transformation from gentle prince to ruthless king perfectly illustrates the gap between ideal and reality. He achieves tangible power, but sacrifices the very humanity that made him worthy of that power. His story is the inverse of Thorfinn's, showing what happens when you abandon beautiful lies for brutal pragmatism. This pattern extends far beyond anime. Think about how many people survive crushing jobs by telling themselves, "One day I'll quit and follow my passion." Most never will, but that lie gets them through another miserable day. Or consider deathbed confessions where people admit their regrets, how they wished they'd pursued dreams they always knew were impractical. The beautiful lie wasn't that they could achieve the dream, it was that they would someday try. Studies in positive psychology confirm this. People who maintain positive illusions about their future often report higher levels of mental well-being. We're literally healthier when we believe in beautiful lies. Our brains are wired to need them. Vinland Saga isn't just telling us a story about Vikings, it's holding up a mirror to human nature itself. It's showing us that beautiful lies aren't weaknesses. They're essential psychological infrastructure. They're how we bear the unbearable. But here's where the story takes its most fascinating turn. If beautiful lies are necessary for survival, what happens when someone actually tries to make them real? When they refuse to accept the gap between dream and reality? That's where Vinland Saga's most profound message emerges, and why Thorfinn's journey matters far beyond the boundaries of fiction. The true revelation of Vinland Saga isn't just that paradise is a lie, it's that the lie serves a purpose far more valuable than any real destination ever could. Vinland transforms Thorfinn, not because he reaches it, but because he pursues it. The beautiful lie makes him into someone better, someone who might actually deserve paradise even if he never finds it. Track Thorfinn's evolution throughout the series. He begins as a child, filled with rage, becomes a hollow instrument of revenge, then a broken slave, and gradually transforms into something entirely new, a man striving for peace in a violent world. This metamorphosis doesn't happen because he reaches Vinland. It happens precisely because Vinland remains distant, forcing him to continuously redefine himself in relation to that impossible goal. Notice how the series deliberately tests Thorfinn's commitment to nonviolence. Each time he tries to break the cycle of violence, he discovers how deeply it's embedded in human nature, including his own. In the farmland arc, when he refuses to fight back against his tormentors, he's not just adhering to a principle, he's rebuilding his entire identity. The impossible dream of Vinland demands impossible growth from him. This pattern isn't unique to anime. It's the hidden wisdom in all great mythologies. The Buddha never reached nirvana by finding a physical place. Odysseus spent 10 years trying to return home. The transformative value was always in the journey, not the arrival. Consider how different Vinland Saga would feel if Thorfinn simply reached his paradise and lived happily ever after. It would rob the story of its power. The greatest series never let characters reach paradise because the destination would inevitably disappoint. Paradise maintains its power specifically because it remains just out of reach, always compelling us forward, always demanding more from us. This parallels what we explored in my video about Askeladd's death. How his sacrifice for Wales, a homeland that barely existed anymore, showed the extraordinary power of beautiful lies. If you haven't watched that analysis yet, you'll find it helps complete this picture of why myths matter so much to the human experience. The link is in the description below. There's profound practical wisdom here for our own lives. The goals that truly transform you aren't the ones you achieve. They're the ones that force you to become someone new in pursuit of them. Think about it. The person who trains for a marathon but gets injured before the race hasn't failed. They've still transformed their body and discipline. The transformation was always the point, not crossing some arbitrary finish line. When we examine our own beautiful lies, our own versions of Vinland, we might discover they serve the same function. That dream job, that perfect relationship, that ideal future, they matter less as destinations and more as compass points that guide our growth. The dream of becoming a famous writer might never materialize, but the discipline of writing daily transforms you regardless. The dream of the perfect relationship might be unattainable, but the work of becoming a better partner changes you forever. What makes Vinland Saga so profound is that it doesn't just tell us this wisdom. It shows it through Thorfinn's physical and moral journey. Each step he takes toward his impossible paradise strips away another layer of his old self. Each compromise and setback force him to redefine what Vinland actually means. The paradise evolves as he evolves. And that's the ultimate revelation. Paradise isn't static. It can't be. The moment we think we've defined it perfectly, we've already limited it. True paradise must always exist just beyond our grasp, not to torture us, but to keep us growing, to keep us human. Vinland Saga's brilliance isn't that it gives us another hero's journey. It's that it shows us how necessary beautiful lies are, how paradise myths don't take us away from reality, but help us endure it. The series doesn't just tell a Viking story. It dissects the very essence of human striving. Every character, from Thorfinn to Askeladd to Canute, is defined not by what they achieve, but by what they pursue. Their beautiful, impossible dreams reveal more about them than their actions ever could. What makes these beautiful lies so powerful isn't that they might someday come true, it's that they provide meaning in a world that offers none. They transform suffering from random cruelty into a meaningful challenge. They give purpose to lives that would otherwise be consumed by the brutal calculus of survival. Perhaps Thorfinn will never reach Vinland, but in pursuing it, he creates something just as valuable, a life worth living and a story worth telling. His paradise may be unreachable, but the pursuit itself becomes sacred. The journey becomes the destination. And isn't that true for all of us? We chase promotions, relationships, achievements, all our own versions of Vinland, knowing deep down that even if we reach them, they won't be exactly what we imagined. They can't be. But we need those distant lights to guide us through our darkest moments. Like Thorfinn, we're all chasing our own version of Vinland, knowing deep down we may never reach it. But that's not failure, that's being human. If you've enjoyed this 4-part journey through the philosophical depths of Vinland Saga, hit subscribe now. I decode these hidden meanings in anime that most viewers miss, and your subscription helps me create more videos that go beyond surface-level analysis. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of beautiful lies and necessary myths. Sometimes the most profound truths come wrapped in stories we know can't be real, but need to believe anyway.